There's something uniquely agonizing about watching two people you love become the architects of your heartbreak. When it happens, it's not loud. It doesn't arrive like thunder. It seeps in quietly, like rainwater under a locked door, steady, cold, and inevitable. I am Edeora, 34, mother of one, born and raised in Enugu, Nigeria. A woman who believed too much in the goodness of others. A woman who once thought that betrayal was something that happened to careless people until it happened to me. My husband, Chuka, was the kind of man who knew how to make women feel safe. Not just with his 6-foot frame or confident voice, but with his words, always laced with charm, always the right dose of tender. And for a while, it worked. I believed in our love, in our marriage, in the home we built. And then there was Kamsi, my best friend since secondary school. My sister in every way except blood. She was the maid of honor at my wedding. The godmother to our child. The one who stood by me through miscarriages, job losses, and the dizzying highs of motherhood. Never, not even in my wildest nightmares, did I imagine she would be the reason my life unraveled. It started with silences. Not arguments, not bruises. Just silences. At first, I blamed stress. Chuka had lost his banking job and was now trying to make it with a struggling real estate business. I was working late at the hospital. Being a nurse during Nigeria's healthcare crisis is no small feat. But silence has a way of breeding doubt. He started coming home later than usual. When I asked, he said he was meeting with potential clients. His phone was always on silent. He no longer touched me like he used to, not even with his eyes. One evening, I confronted him. "Are you seeing someone else?" His response was mechanical. "Don't be ridiculous." But it was there, the shift in his eyes, the cold set of his jaw. Something had changed. I did what many women do, but ignored it. Until I couldn't. The truth finally shattered me on a hot Saturday afternoon. I was folding laundry when my 3-year-old, Zara, waddled over with my phone in her hand. "Mommy, see Auntie Kamsi," she said. I looked. It was a video accidentally sent via WhatsApp of Chuka and Kamsi laughing in a hotel room. She was wearing his shirt. He was rubbing her feet. My heart slammed against my chest. My knees buckled. It felt like the floor betrayed me too. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I sat. I stared. I watched the full 28 seconds in complete silence. My breath left me. My soul fractured. Later that evening, I drove to Kamsi's house without thinking. I banged on her gate until the security man opened, clearly startled. She came out in a wrapper, eyes wide, lips trembling. "Edeora, what's going on?" I didn't speak. I simply showed her the video. She gasped, snatched the phone, then muttered, "Oh God." And that was all I needed. "You were my sister," I said, a voice low and venomous. "You were the one I trusted with my child, my home, my secrets." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "You didn't mean to sleep with my husband?" Silence. I turned and walked away. That night, I packed Chuka's clothes into garbage bags and left them outside the gate. When he returned, he didn't even look surprised. "Is this how you're handling it?" he asked. "Go to her," I said. "She can have what's left of you." But betrayal isn't just about loss. Sometimes it opens a door to something deeper, something far more dangerous. 3 months passed. The divorce process began. He tried to gain partial custody of Zara, probably to look good in front of Kamsi, who had now moved in with him. But I was silent. Calm. I let them believe I was broken. Until I discovered the one thing they needed most. Kamsi had been struggling to conceive. I knew this. She'd had 2 fibroid surgeries in her 20s and had always feared infertility. She'd confided in me once, crying as I held her. Chuka wanted more children, badly. He always talked about giving Zara siblings, about having a big family. It was one of the things that tied us together. One day, as I stood outside the hospital lab where I worked, one of our doctors walked up to me, holding a confidential file. "You know this woman?" he asked. It was Kamsi's name on the file. "I shouldn't be showing you this, but you need to see it," he said. My fingers trembled as I read the diagnosis: severe uterine scarring, less than 5% chance of natural conception. Suddenly, the power shifted. I didn't need revenge that screamed. I needed revenge that whispered, that lingered like a ghost in their perfect little fantasy. I began documenting everything. Every call, every text, every bank withdrawal Chuka made with my name still on joint accounts. Every time he showed up late to pick Zara. I even invited Kamsi for coffee one day, pretending to forgive. "Let's not let a man ruin decades of friendship," I said, smiling tightly. She bought it. Desperation dripped off her like sweat. I noticed the slight bulge in her belly. She thought she was pregnant. But I knew it wasn't real. I waited. Let them plan. Let them build their dreams. And then, one morning, my lawyer served them both, not just with full custody papers for Zara, but a financial claim on the house they moved into, the property I inherited from my late uncle and quietly kept in my maiden name. But that wasn't all. I mailed a copy of Kamsi's fertility file, anonymously, to Chuka's new workplace and his overbearing mother who had always disapproved of me. I didn't write a word. Just sent the truth. And the truth, like rot, does what it always does: it spread. They say revenge is best served cold. But I think it's best served smart, calculated, quiet, and final. I didn't need to scream. I took the one thing they needed most, not just my daughter, not just financial stability, but the illusion of a happy future together. They had betrayed me with their bodies. I retaliated with their secrets. And I still slept peacefully at night. There's a strange peace that comes when you stop fighting to be understood, when you no longer care whether the people who betrayed you feel guilt or not. That was where I had arrived. I wasn't angry anymore. I was precise. After I sent out those anonymous envelopes, Kamsi's fertility report to Chuka's new workplace and his judgmental mother, I waited. Not with anxiety, but with curiosity. Like a woman watching the first drops of rain fall on the roof of a house she knew had cracks. And oh, did those cracks widen. It started with whispers. A week after the letters went out, my sister Ugochi called. "Eda, did you hear? Chuka's mother collapsed during morning prayers. Word is she found out something disturbing." I didn't ask what. I just said, "I'll keep her in my prayers." But I already knew. Chuka tried to reach out, first with cold, professional-sounding messages about Zara's school runs. Then with subtle attempts to shift blame. "We didn't plan for it to happen this way," he texted once. "She's not you." That one made me pause. She's not me. Of course not. I was the woman who built a life with him, who carried his child through postpartum depression and still made his meals even when my hands shook from exhaustion. Kamsi was just a replacement, easier to manipulate than till reality set in. Meanwhile, the court process was moving swiftly. I had filed for full custody, citing emotional abandonment, infidelity, and unstable home environment. My lawyer was fierce, a woman who had gone through the same hell and come out breathing fire. One morning, during a meeting with her, she smirked and said, "You know, if this was chess, you just took their queen." She wasn't wrong. Because the illusion of their happiness, the romanticized version they posted online with matching onkara and soft captions, was quickly fading. I wasn't watching them. But others were. Friends began to distance themselves. Clients became scarce. Even their landlord, who was an old family friend of mine, quietly hinted that their tenancy might not be renewed. But life wasn't entirely about revenge. There was Zara, my heartbeat. She had questions now. Smart ones. Painful ones. Mommy, why doesn't Daddy come for my birthday like other daddies? I knelt before her, brushing her tiny braids. Daddy made some mistakes, my love. But you didn't. And I will always be here. She nodded, but the sadness in her eyes felt like glass. That's when I knew this story, while centered around betrayal, wasn't just mine. It was Zara's too. And she deserved a mother who wasn't consumed by vengeance. Weeks passed. One Sunday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello. I answered. Silence. Then a familiar voice, barely above a whisper, Ada, it's Kamsi. I froze. She continued, please, can we meet? Just for a few minutes. I don't know who else to talk to. A part of me wanted to hang up. But curiosity, that old demon, said otherwise. Fine. GRA Park. 3 p.m. She looked nothing like the woman I once knew. Her face was pale, lips cracked, dark circles hugging her eyes. She clutched a small handbag like her life depended on it. When she saw me, she burst into tears. Ada. I think I'm losing my mind. I sat, arms crossed. She talked, fast, frantic, broken. Chuka blames me for everything now. He's cold. He found the report. Said I hid it. I didn't. I thought maybe I was pregnant. But it was a cyst. He won't talk to me. His mom called me a barren witch. My business has collapsed. And I don't even have friends anymore. She reached out to touch my hand. I pulled back. You know what betrayal tastes like, Kamsi? I said slowly. It's not bitter. It's metallic. Like blood in your mouth after biting your own tongue, just to keep from screaming. She sobbed harder. I didn't think it would turn out like this, she whispered. I stood. You didn't think, period. As I walked away, I didn't feel joy. Not pride. Not glee. Just closure. Because karma hadn't arrived with a bang. It had come in whispers, then Kamsi was hearing every one of them now. Back home, I tucked Zara into bed and sat on the floor beside her. I pulled out an old photo album, pictures of Chuka, Kamsi, and me back in university. Smiling. Innocent. Blind. I tore the photo in half. Not out of rage, but ritual. To shed the weight of memories no longer mine. Because the woman in those pictures was gone. And the woman I had become, she wasn't done writing her story. Not yet. There's a quiet power in choosing not to retaliate with rage, but with strategy. While they were scrambling to pick up the pieces of the perfect life they tried to build on my broken trust, I was laying new foundations, not just for myself, but for Zara. Kamsi's call had confirmed what I already suspected, they were unraveling. Fast. But I hadn't spoken to Chuka directly since the day I threw out his belongings. And surprisingly, he hadn't tried to fight the divorce aggressively. Maybe it was guilt. Or pride. But that silence felt intentional. Until one evening, a knock came at my gate. It was Chuka. I peered through the metal bars and saw him standing there, hands in his pockets, eyes sunken but defiant. What do you want? I asked, not opening. To talk. Like adults. I laughed. You don't cheat on your wife and then demand adult conversations. He exhaled slowly. I made a mistake. You made many. Silence stretched. Then he said something I didn't expect. "She's not who I thought she was." I blinked. "Welcome to reality." He lowered his voice. "I want to be part of Zara's life again." I opened the gate just enough to step out and close it behind me. "Now you remember you have a daughter?" "She asks for me." "She used to. Now she calls Uncle Chidi when she wants to feel safe." "Think about that." I could see the shame in his eyes, but it was too late for pity. "You gave up your home for a fantasy. And now that fantasy is turning to ash, you remember your responsibilities." His voice cracked. "She tricked me, Eda. She said she could give me a child." I stared hard at him. "She didn't trick you. You betrayed yourself." And with that, I turned and walked back inside. That night, I sat on the floor of my bedroom, staring at the wall, thinking. Was it over? Not quite. Because while emotional betrayal leaves deep scars, economic betrayal can bleed a woman dry. Chuka had quietly emptied half our joint savings before I discovered the affair. He'd used that money to start his real estate hustle, and to spoil Kamsi. Weekend getaways, imported wigs, furniture for their love nest. He left me with barely enough to pay Zara's school fees. I never forgot that. So when the opportunity came to reclaim more than my dignity, I took it. I reached out to a client I once helped as a nurse. Madam Busy, a wealthy woman in her 50s, sharp-tongued but generous. She was looking to invest in property but needed someone she could trust to do due diligence. I offered to help her, quietly. It just so happened that one of the properties on her radar was under Chuka's name. When I saw the documents, my heart skipped. It was a prime lot in Lekki, but the ownership papers were flawed. A clerical error had been overlooked in his haste to register it, and it made the claim vulnerable. I pointed it out to Madam Busy. Within days, her lawyers swooped in and made an offer that was a legal ambush, an aggressive lowball price backed with the threat of public litigation if he refused. Chuka folded. He needed the cash. When I saw the transfer go through, I smiled for the first time in weeks. Meanwhile, Kamsi tried to re-enter my life, awkwardly, desperately. One morning, I walked Zara into her classroom, only to see Kamsi standing at the school gate with a gift bag. She approached, her voice shaking. "It's for Zara. Just small toys." I didn't touch the bag. "Don't confuse kindness with forgiveness," I said. "You lost access to my child the day you stopped being my sister." Her voice cracked. "She's innocent. She didn't do anything. That's exactly why she won't be near you." And I walked away because I wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing it for boundaries. At home, I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder labeled New Beginnings. Inside were plans for the health clinic I had dreamed of for years, a small, community-focused practice where I could serve the same women society often ignored. With the help of Madam Busy and a few other silent investors, I had enough to lease a space and renovate it. Every cabinet I installed. Every scrub set I purchased. Every clipboard and stethoscope. Felt like bricks in a new identity. Not Edaora the wife. Not Edaora the betrayed. But Edaora the builder. And yet, a part of me still checked my phone late at night. Wondering, would he try again? Would she? Was it really over? But that question was answered soon enough, in the cruelest way possible. Because one day, while picking Zara up from school, I saw an ambulance speeding past. And minutes later, my phone rang. It was a mutual friend. Her voice was trembling. "Eda, it's Kamsi." She collapsed at a market stall. Internal bleeding. They say it was an ectopic pregnancy that ruptured. She didn't even know. I sat on a bench, numb. Life had just twisted the knife, not through me, but beside me. Because no matter how much pain someone caused you, watching them suffer, it didn't bring peace. That night, I stared out my window. Not gloating. Not grieving. Just thinking. They say what goes around comes around. But sometimes, it doesn't. Sometimes it crawls, slowly, painfully, with consequences more severe than anyone could predict. And sometimes, all you can do is keep walking forward. For yourself. For your child. For the life you deserve. Kamsi's funeral was quiet. Private. Just a handful of relatives and a few former friends who couldn't pretend anymore that they hadn't turned their backs on her long before she died. I didn't attend. I wasn't invited. But I had everything. She was buried under grey skies on a Thursday morning. The same day I officially received the business license for my clinic. Life has a twisted sense of symmetry. Chuka called me 3 days after the burial. I let it ring. Then ring again. On the 4th try, I answered, not because I was curious, but because I was ready. His voice was hollow. She's gone. I said nothing. I didn't know about the pregnancy. Still, I remained silent. I messed up everything, Eda. I don't know how to fix any of this. You can't, I finally replied. There was a pause. I just want to see Zara. That name. That innocent name. The only thread left between us. You can apply through the court, I said calmly. And follow the rules. No drama. No sudden visits. No confusion. I understand. He hung up. And just like that, it ended. No apology. No tearful confession. No reunion. Just a fractured man, carrying the weight of what he destroyed. 6 months later, Zara turned 4. I threw her a small birthday party at our new clinic, pastel balloons, a bouncing castle, face paint, the whole dream. She wore a sky blue dress and squealed every time her favorite cartoon theme song played. I watched her laugh with other children, free of confusion, free of pain. A child finally reclaiming her joy. That was when I knew I had won. Not in the way people measure victory. Not with revenge or spite. But with growth. With peace. In the weeks that followed, my clinic grew. Women came in daily, tired mothers, overlooked housemaids, students scared of pregnancy symptoms, wives with bruises they claimed were accidents. I treated them with empathy. I saw in them parts of myself, broken, healing, hopeful. And then one afternoon, I got a visitor. Not a patient. Not a donor. But Chuka's mother. I stared at her through the glass door as she stood there, stiff, proud, aged beyond recognition. I stepped outside. She cleared her throat. I came to say. I judged you harshly. I believed lies. And I lost a daughter-in-law worth 10 of Kamsi. I didn't reply. I know you won't forgive Chuka. He's drowning in guilt. I nodded slightly. That's his ocean to swim. She looked down. Zara, she looks like you. She is me, I said. With all my strength and none of my wounds. The old woman smiled faintly. Maybe that's God's justice. I never saw her again. Some things don't need second chapters. They need closure. Weeks turned into months. I focused on my clinic, on Zara's school, on self-forgiveness. Because even though I didn't betray anyone, I had betrayed myself for years, ignoring red flags, silencing my gut, believing in people who weren't worthy of my loyalty. That, too, needed healing. One Friday, I sat on the clinic's balcony watching the sun melt into the Enugu horizon. Zara was asleep inside on a floor mat, a picture book still open beside her. And for the first time in a long time, I whispered aloud to no one in particular. I'm proud of you, Edaora. Not for surviving, but for becoming. For rising. For taking the thing they needed most, peace, stability, dignity, and not destroying it, but owning it. Not out of vengeance, but to rebuild what they tried to erase. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is not destruction. It's rebirth. When others think they've buried you, rise and show them you were seed.